Picture this scenario. You're staring at your bank statement at the end of another ordinary month, and something doesn't add up. The numbers don't make sense. You didn't splurge on anything extravagant, didn't make any major purchases, just covered the usual stuff. Groceries, a few restaurant meals, maybe replaced your phone because the old one was acting up. Standard living expenses. Yet somehow, you're left wondering where all your money disappeared to, feeling like you should have so much more left over. Here's what's really happening, and it's something most people never realize until they're already trapped in the cycle. The world of consumer spending has fundamentally shifted beneath our feet. Things that used to represent reasonable value have become absurdly overpriced, but we've all slowly adjusted to this new reality without questioning it. We've been conditioned to accept these inflated costs as normal simply because everyone else seems to be going along with it. My name is Jim, and I help people actually understand money, how it leaks out of your life, and how to get it working for you instead. If you're serious about getting control of your finances instead of feeling behind all the time, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It's free for you, but it tells YouTube this is the kind of content more people should see. This isn't about being cheap or depriving yourself of life's pleasures. This is about recognizing when you're being taken advantage of and making conscious decisions about where your hard-earned money actually goes. When you understand what's happening, you can take back control of your finances instead of watching them slowly drain away on purchases that deliver less and less value every year. So in this video, I want to walk you through 10 things that used to feel normal, but today they quietly drain a frightening amount of your net worth. First, fast food is no longer cheap food. Think about the last time you grabbed fast food. Remember when the entire appeal of fast food was the combination of speed and affordability? That was the fundamental promise. You could walk into any chain restaurant, order a complete meal, and walk out having spent pocket change. The convenience came with a trade-off in quality, sure, but the price made it worthwhile for what it was. That equation has completely broken down. Today, you're looking at $12 to $20 for a single meal at the same establishments that used to charge a fraction of that amount. $20 for food served in paper bags, eaten with plastic utensils, in restaurants where you still have to bus your own table. The experience hasn't improved, the quality hasn't increased, but the price has crept up to what casual sit-down restaurants used to charge. Second, eating out at restaurants as a default lifestyle has become financially brutal. The restaurant industry as a whole has followed this same trajectory. Eating out used to be something middle-class families could do regularly without stress. A couple could enjoy dinner at a decent restaurant once or twice a week without it significantly impacting their budget. Those days feel like ancient history now. Walk into any average restaurant today, nothing fancy or upscale, just a regular neighborhood place. Order a couple of entrees, maybe share an appetizer, have a few drinks, and suddenly you're facing a bill that approaches or exceeds $100. Add the expected tip, and you've just spent what many people used to budget for an entire week of groceries. For one meal. For food that disappears the moment you finish eating it. People who eat out multiple times per week, which has become surprisingly common, are unknowingly dedicating thousands of dollars every month to restaurant expenses. They don't realize it because it happens in small increments. $20 here, $30 there, but these seemingly modest amounts accumulate into one of the largest expense categories in their budget. What makes this particularly problematic is that restaurant food, while convenient, rarely justifies the premium you're now paying for it. The same meal you just spent $60 on could likely be prepared at home for $12 to $15, and with a little practice, the homemade version might actually taste better and be healthier. Third, buying brand new cars has become one of the most destructive normal habits. The automotive industry presents an even more mathematically obvious example of how consumer spending has gone off the rails. Purchasing a brand new vehicle represents one of the most financially destructive decisions an average person can make. Yet, it's become completely normalized in our culture. The mathematics are straightforward and undeniable. The moment you drive a new car off the dealer's lot, it loses a massive chunk of its value. You haven't even reached your house yet, and you're already down thousands of dollars. This isn't a gradual process or something that might happen. It's immediate and guaranteed. From that point forward, The vehicle continues depreciating every single year while you're simultaneously making monthly payments that include interest charges. You're literally paying money for the privilege of watching your asset become less valuable over time. It's the opposite of an investment. The psychology behind new car purchases reveals something interesting about human behavior and marketing. People convince themselves they deserve a new car because they work hard and should treat themselves. They want the latest technology, the new car smell, the pride of ownership that comes with having something fresh off the assembly line. They want neighbors and coworkers to see them driving something current and impressive. But here's the reality check. A 3 or 4-year-old used car provides essentially identical transportation value at a much lower cost. The major depreciation hit has already been absorbed by the previous owner. You get all the practical benefits of reliable transportation without the massive financial penalty. The used car will get you to work just as reliably, carry your family just as safely, and serve all the same practical functions as the new one. The difference is mostly psychological and social. If you're wealthy enough that money isn't a concern, fine. But for regular people trying to build wealth and financial security, new car purchases create years of unnecessary financial strain. Fourth, luxury logos on basic clothing quietly drain your future wealth. This same pattern of paying premium prices for status and brand recognition extends throughout the clothing industry. There's absolutely a place for quality clothing that's built to last. A well-made pair of boots, a durable winter coat, classic pieces that will serve you for years can justify higher prices because they save money over time. But that's not what most people are buying when they purchase expensive clothing. They're buying logos. They're buying the social signaling that comes with wearing recognizable luxury brands. They're paying enormous markups for the privilege of advertising someone else's company on their body. Consider the absurdity of this. You can purchase a plain white cotton t-shirt for $10, or you can buy essentially the same shirt with a designer logo printed on it for $200. Same material, likely manufactured in the same facility, identical in every meaningful way except for the small logo. Yet people willingly pay 20 times more for that tiny piece of branding. The fashion industry has masterfully convinced consumers that expensive equals better quality, and that brand recognition translates to personal worth. Neither of these assumptions really holds up under scrutiny. Most luxury clothing offers marginal quality improvements over mid-range alternatives, and the quality difference rarely justifies the exponential price increase. Nobody actually cares what brand of clothing you wear, except you. The vast majority of people won't notice or remember what logo was on your shirt. Those who do notice aren't having their opinion of you as a person significantly altered by your fashion choices. You're paying premium prices to impress people who aren't paying your bills. Fifth, expensive vacations you can't actually afford are killing long-term wealth. Travel and vacation spending represents another area where costs have spiraled completely out of control. International travel used to be accessible for middle-class families who planned ahead and made smart choices. You could find reasonable flights, stay in budget accommodations, eat at local establishments, and experience different cultures without financial devastation. The current travel landscape is dramatically different. Airfare prices have reached levels that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. Hotel costs, even for basic accommodations, have skyrocketed. Restaurant prices in tourist destinations are often double or triple what locals pay. Even budget travel options now require significant financial resources. Social media has created additional pressure around vacation spending. People see carefully curated vacation photos from friends and influencers, creating an expectation that everyone should be taking elaborate photogenic trips. This leads to people booking vacations they can't actually afford, often putting significant portions on credit cards and spending months or years paying them off with interest. There's nothing inherently wrong with travel or experiencing different cultures, but there's something deeply problematic about going into debt to fund vacations, especially when that debt prevents you from building the financial foundation that would eventually make travel truly affordable. Sixth, subscription overload is a quiet but constant leak. The subscription economy has created another insidious drain on personal finances. Monthly subscriptions feel harmless because each individual cost seems modest. $15 for one streaming service, $12 for another, $10 for music, $8 for cloud storage. Each payment is small enough to feel insignificant, but these small amounts compound quickly. Most people now carry 5 to 10 ongoing subscriptions, resulting in monthly bills between $60 and $100 just for digital services. That translates to roughly $1,000 per year for entertainment and convenience services, much of which goes unused most of the time. The psychology is deliberate. Companies have discovered that consumers will accept small recurring charges that they would reject as large lump sum payments. You might refuse to pay $200 upfront for a software program, but you'll agree to pay $15 per month for the same software, even though you'll end up paying more over time. Traditional cable television represents the most egregious example of this subscription trap. People continue paying large monthly amounts for cable packages filled with hundreds of channels they never watch. Everything they actually want to see is available through streaming services at a fraction of the cost, yet they maintain expensive cable subscriptions out of habit and inertia. Gym memberships follow the same pattern. People sign up with good intentions, attend regularly for 2 or 3 weeks, then gradually stop going while continuing to pay monthly fees. The gym industry's business model depends on this behavior. They know most members will stop attending, but keep paying. 7th, constant tech upgrades keep you permanently on the treadmill. The technology industry has perfected the art of making people feel like they need constant upgrades. Every year brings new phone models, updated laptops, faster tablets, and improved smartwatches. Each new version offers incremental improvements that are marketed as revolutionary advances you simply must have. A new smartphone now often costs over $1,000, and people are replacing them every year or two despite their current phones working perfectly well. The improvements between generations are typically minor. Slightly better cameras, marginally faster processors, cosmetic design changes. These upgrades rarely translate into meaningful improvements in daily life. If you use your phone primarily for communication, social media, and basic apps, a 3-year-old model performs these functions just as well as the latest release. The difference is almost invisible in practical use. Yet, people continue upgrading because technology companies have created a culture where having the newest device feels necessary. This extends beyond phones to laptops, tablets, gaming consoles, and every other category of consumer electronics. The constant upgrade cycle means people are always making payments on devices that depreciate rapidly, while their old devices, which still function perfectly, become worthless. Planned obsolescence makes this cycle even more problematic. Modern devices are often designed to become obsolete or less useful faster than they used to, forcing more frequent replacements. You're not just paying premium prices for marginal improvements, you're paying for products that are not built to last. 8th, overpriced household items and furniture quietly eat your cash flow. The household goods industry has followed similar patterns, convincing consumers that expensive means better quality. Generic cleaning products work just as effectively as name brand alternatives, but cost significantly less. That basic spatula from a discount store performs the same function as the designer version that costs many times more. Kitchen gadget marketing has created a culture where people feel they need specialized equipment for every possible cooking task. Bread makers that get used twice per year, pasta machines that collect dust in cabinets, expensive blender systems for people who make smoothies once per month. These purchases represent money that could be invested or saved, instead sitting idle in kitchen cabinets. The furniture industry now encourages people to finance their purchases, treating couches and dining room sets like major investments requiring payment plans. This is particularly absurd because most furniture depreciates rapidly and often needs replacement within a few years anyway. You can find perfectly functional furniture through thrift stores, online marketplaces, and clearance sales for a fraction of retail prices. 9th, financing your lifestyle instead of owning it keeps you stuck. We now live in a culture where almost everything can be financed. Furniture, electronics, phones, even clothing in some cases. Buy now, pay later has become a default option instead of an emergency tool. The problem is that every financed purchase is a little claim on your future income. When you stack car payments, phone payments, furniture payments, streaming bills, and subscription services on top of each other, you lock in a lifestyle that demands a certain minimum income just to stand still. There's no breathing room, no flexibility, and very little left to save or invest. You're not just buying things, you're renting your own lifestyle from the future. 10th, status spending might be the most expensive habit of all. Status spending represents perhaps the most psychologically complex form of financial waste. This occurs when people purchase items not because they need or deeply enjoy them, but because they believe these purchases will make them appear successful to others. Expensive watches, designer handbags, luxury cars that stretch their budgets to the breaking point. All of this spending is motivated by the desire to project an image of wealth and success. The irony is that actual wealthy people typically don't need to do this because they don't have anything to prove. There's a line I love that sums this up. You don't become a millionaire by spending money like a millionaire. Most people are going broke, trying to look rich in front of people who aren't even paying attention. This kind of spending is often driven by insecurity and the mistaken belief that having the right possessions will make them feel better about themselves or earn respect from others. But respect comes from character and actions, not from the brand name on your accessories. And financial security definitely doesn't come from going into debt to buy status symbols. When you add all of this together, you start to see why so many people with decent incomes feel constantly broke. They're not spending money on any single extravagant purchase, but they're hemorrhaging money across dozens of overpriced categories that individually seem reasonable. Fast food that costs as much as restaurant meals used to cost. Restaurant meals that cost as much as a week of groceries used to cost. Car payments for vehicles they can't afford. Clothing with premium prices for basic quality. Vacations funded with credit cards. Multiple subscription services they barely use. Constant technology upgrades they don't need. Household items marked up for brand names. Financing plans everywhere. Status purchases that impress nobody who actually matters. Each expense category seems manageable in isolation, but together they consume enormous portions of people's income while delivering less value than ever before. The result is individuals and families who make decent money but struggle to save anything, wondering why they can't get ahead financially despite having reasonable incomes. The solution isn't complicated, but it does require conscious decision-making and the willingness to go against some social expectations. Cook more meals at home instead of relying on expensive restaurants and overpriced fast food. Keep your current car longer instead of constantly upgrading. Buy used when it makes sense. Purchase generic products instead of paying brand premiums. Cancel subscription services you don't actively use. Keep your phone until it actually stops working. Focus on building real wealth instead of trying to look wealthy. This doesn't mean living like a monk or never enjoying life. It means being intentional about your spending and honest about what actually brings value to your life. Most of the things people spend money on don't actually make them happier. They just make them poorer. And being constantly stressed about money definitely doesn't make anyone happier. The companies selling these overpriced goods and services have figured out they can charge more because people will continue paying. They raise prices knowing that consumers have become conditioned to accept whatever they're charged. But you don't have to participate in this cycle. You can choose to stop buying overpriced items. You can say no to unnecessary upgrades. You can cook dinner instead of eating out. You can keep your functional possessions instead of replacing them for tiny improvements. The people who figure this out early become financially comfortable later in life. They have savings, investments, and genuine financial security. The people who continue spending money they don't have on things they don't need remain stressed about money for decades, wondering why they can't build wealth despite earning decent incomes. It's not that difficult once you start thinking consciously about your spending instead of just following what everyone else is doing. Track where your money goes for a month. You'll likely be surprised by how much you're spending on things that don't actually matter to you. Then figure out what you can eliminate, because there's almost certainly something you can cut, probably several things. That money could be working for your future instead of disappearing into the pockets of companies that have convinced you to pay premium prices for ordinary products and services. Your future self will thank you for making these changes now, while you still have time to build real wealth instead of just the appearance of it. If you want to take this seriously, pick just 2 things from this list to cut back on this month and redirect that money into savings or investments. Then come back to this video a year from now and tell me what changed, because something will.